Okay, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about constraints, the hidden rules that kind of define what's even possible in our world, from the code running on our computers to the choices we make at the grocery store.
We're going to explore how these invisible structures, these policy constraints, are guiding our choices every single day, most of the time without us even noticing. Think of them as the silent guardrails that keep society moving on a very specific track.
All right, first up, let's get a really clear picture of what these constraints actually are and, where we can spot them out in the real world.
So, a policy constraint. It's basically a rule that makes one choice super easy and another one really, really difficult. It's like this subtle pressure that makes the default option the most convenient one, even if we know it's not the best one.
And you see them everywhere, seriously. Building codes might make it incredibly complicated or even illegal to use new low-carbon materials. Or what about agricultural subsidies? They favor huge crops like corn and soy, which makes processed food artificially cheap, while your local farm struggles to compete. And don't even get me started on product standards that basically encourage a throwaway culture by making things impossible to repair. All this creates a really powerful lock-in effect. It's like society is a train running in these deep, well-worn grooves. And even when we can see a much better destination up ahead, the tracks we're on make it incredibly hard to change course. Economists have a name for this: path dependency. It's this idea that the choices we made way in the past are limiting the options we have right now.
So, if these rules are shaping everything, how do we even begin to analyze them? Well, it turns out we can actually translate them into the language of mathematics, where, get this, constraints aren't a bug, they're a core feature.
For decades, we've had this amazing tool called linear programming, and it's built to solve exactly these kinds of problems. How to get the absolute best result possible while you're stuck working within a strict set of rules, or constraints. Now, its history goes back almost 200 years, but it really became a powerhouse in 1947 with George Dantzig's simplex method. Just to give you a sense of its power, his original problem was assigning 70 people to 70 different jobs. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. There are more possible combinations than there are particles in the entire universe. And yet, linear programming finds the one single best answer in a moment. It's that kind of power that made it absolutely essential for solving huge logistical problems during World War II. So, how do we take this incredibly powerful idea of working within constraints and bring it to the absolute cutting edge of artificial intelligence? Okay, imagine this little challenge. We want to teach an AI agent to collect all the green apples to get a high score. Simple enough. But there's one critical safety rule. It absolutely, positively cannot touch the red bombs. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. On the left, look at that graph showing the AI's reward. See the green line? It just shoots way up. It gets a fantastic score. But now look at the graph on the right. This one tracks the cost, like how many times it hits a bomb. It completely blows past that red safety line. Total catastrophic failure. But when we use a technique called constrained policy optimization, the whole story changes. Check out the blue line on the left graph. The agent still gets a really good reward, right? But, and this is the magic, on the right, you see that same blue line learns to perfectly respect the safety limit. It stays just under that red dotted line. It learns to win within the rules. And this is just a brilliant illustration of the real power here. We can teach an AI not just what to do to win, but also, and maybe more importantly, what not to do to stay safe. This little humanoid here is learning to walk forward, but it's constrained. It has to stay inside those invisible blue lines. It's perfectly balancing its goal with its limitations. And this whole concept isn't just for training AI. Constraints are the fundamental logic of countless systems, from how a factory operates to how we build massive data platforms.
In business, for instance, you have your obvious physical constraints. Not enough material, not enough space on the floor. But the most damaging constraints are usually those invisible policy constraints, the unchallenged assumptions, the weird measurements that actually drive bad behavior, or just that classic, well, that's the way we've always done things.
Even in the huge data systems that run our world, constraints are everything. Choosing to limit a text field to a certain length isn't just a random choice. It's a constraint that saves space and makes the whole system faster. Designing a process to automatically get rid of duplicates, that's a constraint that guarantees your data is clean and reliable. At the end of the day, good constraints are just good design.
So this brings us to a fundamental choice. When we're faced with a constraint that's holding us back, do we learn to work within it, or do we try to change it entirely?
So really, we have two paths. We can optimize within the existing rules, just like our little AI agent that learned to get the best score it could without hitting any bombs. Or we can take on the much, much harder work of changing the rules themselves, like activists who are trying to redesign agricultural policy from the ground up.
And for those who choose that second path, who want to change the rules, there are some really powerful tools. Things like fee-based systems that tax harmful products to help subsidize good ones, or policies that make companies responsible for their products from cradle to grave, or even just using the massive buying power of governments to create brand new markets for sustainable stuff. These are ways to rewrite the entire game.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Now that you can see these invisible rules in society, in technology, in your own work, the choice is really yours. Take a look at the constraints that are shaping your world. Which ones are you going to master, and which ones are you going to dare to break?